Well, from my perspective, it was always that the initial spark that caused this dispute, and that's what I focus on in the article, that it was this trade dispute between Russia, Ukraine, and the EU, and the question of free trade agreements versus customs union and a very complicated international trade dispute. I was always very surprised how that kind of spark was quickly lost. And it quickly became a discussion of broader geopolitical, geostrategic interests. Putin himself, as Elizabeth can talk about, was part of the issue. He was the one who brought out the map of Novorossiya and really kind of began talking about the broader reasons behind Russia's decision to annex Crimea and to invade eastern Ukraine. But what I always found particularly interesting was that this very mundane, straightforward trade issue was where this crisis started. And up until the events that led to Russia's decision to annex Crimea was really where this dispute could have ended. But it didn't end there, and it soon mushroomed well beyond the traditional trade dispute that I described in my article.
Yeah. I think the thing that surprised me most was the degree to which the Russians were invested in trying to get back Crimea from 1991. With the breakup of the Soviet Union. So one thing that's very important to say for your listeners is that this book, we set ourselves the goal of trying to understand the Russian side of what's going on here. None of us were trying to figure out why did Ukraine get into the conflict in eastern Donbass. We can talk about that, but we were really trying to figure out, okay, why is Russia taking back Crimea? Why is Russia meddling in Donbass? And it seemed to me, the thing that really surprised me once I went back and did the research was actually the introduction to the book, was figuring out how many millions of dollars and tens of millions of dollars, the Russian mayor, Lushkov, was pouring into Crimea. How many pro-Russian organizations they were creating of every possible description. They were pro-Russian Cossack organizations. They were pro-Russian youth organizations, particularly after 2004, after the Orange Revolution in Kiev and in Ukraine. The Russians clearly panicked, and they clearly started a separatist effort in Crimea that looks an awful lot like their separatist efforts in Transnistria, their separate efforts in Abkhazia, South Ossetia, and so on. So that the degree to which they were financially involved was very striking to me.